Yeah, so the future of what we are going to be doing as an agency, the present of what we're doing as an agency, and the future is going to be around the better targeting data, the first party data we're bringing to the table, our own data infrastructure and targeting IDs that we have, which is a platform called Blue, really is driving everything that we're doing from a media standpoint. And that starts in the linear space, in the CTV space, with using that data to identify where our audience is and what they're consuming. That is more applicable in CTV when it is an addressable one-to-one environment. So connecting the pipes with all the publishers in the CTV space, the trade desks out there, and the DSPs out there, in order to take advantage of that data and really identify our target and reach them on a one-to-one basis. But we're using it in linear as well. Linear obviously is one-to-many, so it's a different approach, and it's a bit of a different animal in this space, but it's still valuable to understand how much of the audience that we're reaching is within our target. And the best way to identify that target is with either first party data or our agency, ID infrastructure, which is, effectively sometimes is partnered with first party data from our clients, but can stand alone as well and can get down to very specific IDs on who we're reaching and whether they fall within our target or not. So it really is underpinning everything we're doing, not just in video, specifically obviously talking about CTV and linear, but really across all media types.
And I know you guys go deep on performance and improving ROI. How does the use of first-party data help you to evaluate performance?
So the key is, understanding who we're going after going in on a very specific ID basis, household basis, and then measuring, did that household or did that ID take an action based on our exposure of ad exposure. So as opposed to, in the past when we're using Nielsen or fairly open-ended targeting, you're hoping for results, you're measuring some results on the back end, and you can measure some results, performance results on the back end. But with the ID going in front end, you're really able to track that ID and or household throughout the entire process. Did we identify that household, reach that household, did that household see our spot and take an action, and what was that action? So it really helps us close the loop on performance from a front end targeting all the way through, did they take an action or not?
And Dave, related to that is measurement, of course, and we hear a lot that's going on. The programmers are making big initiatives, the industry is making big initiatives. Where does measurement go, past the panels, in a sort of omnichannel world? And what are your hopes as an agency that the vendors can provide in terms of currency or multiple currencies, or what are your hopes?
Yeah, I really do think we're at a really interesting point in time where for the first time we can truly consider, at least in linear television, something outside of the Nielsen ecosystem. I don't think Nielsen's going away. Nielsen will still be, a part of the measurement, ecosystem, but I don't think we're any longer stuck with the single currency to be able to compare cost network to network, because really what I was just talking about, delivering business results, measuring and delivering business results is the ultimate currency. It's not how many people saw our show, saw our commercial within the show, or even within the CTV environment. Is did they take an action? Did they buy our product? Did they visit our store? So that is where we want to get to. The measurement of counting impressions has always been a proxy for that. But if we're getting closer to measuring the performance, the impression counting becomes less important. So I do think we're at a point where we can consider alternatives to Nielsen, and there are impression counting alternatives that we're looking at as an agency. We've just done our own RFP in the measurement space to find out which players out there can really solve for a agency's needs, a video planning needs from an agency, and in addition to counting the impressions of viewership. And then we're partnering with several sellers out there and their efforts to test and vet the opportunities out there. So we're very leaned into that space, and we do think the alternative sources do get us closer to that performance because they do a better job of measuring the exposure and household that I was talking about before. It's the front end targeting with your data. It's was that household or ID exposed, which is really hard to get to via Nielsen. It's much easier when you have a set-top box information or you have ACR information. You know if that household's been exposed or not. And then the performance on the back end also easier to measure when you're connecting those dots in that way. So I really do think we're at a very interesting tipping point in terms of measurement, not only just alternatives to counting impressions, the way that Nielsen has done, but also these alternatives can get us closer to the performance, measuring performance on the back end, tracking, measuring performance on the back end as well.
Cool. Dave, Horizon's been very involved with challenger brands or direct to consumer brands, and it's not new. It's a kind of almost a mature area, but give us some of your thoughts, observations about how DTC have sort of maximized their digital chops to be successful in CTV. What have you been seeing in the direct to consumer sector?
Well, I mean, the benefit of the direct to consumer area and many of those clients is that there's one less step in terms of the purchase. And what I mean by that is we don't have to track someone going to a store and then try to understand what they're purchasing in the store and connecting those dots. You're getting exposure and you're tracking, did they go to the website and did they buy? So it's a shorter path to the business result, tracking the business results. So it was a lot of learnings from that. We can understand which of our media touch points are driving business, particularly in the CTV space, what is working, what isn't working, at what price does something work or does it not work, which is also a critical component. So we know what to pay, or in the DR space, essentially bid for the inventory. So it's gotten us incredible learning and a lot closer to be able to track that performance when you're just closer to that purchase cycle. It's much closer to the exposure. So it's been a lot of interesting learning, and I think the next phase of that also is what gets done in shoppable TV or shoppable CTV, and tightening that even further. Instead of going from the TV screen to your phone, can you do all the purchasing on your TV screen? So that'll be that's kind of the next frontier, I would say.